Alright, it's Saturday, 7/27 of 2019. Gonna give you an update on these two missing brothers and some more information that's came out, and some more information for everybody to consider. So, I'll give you some video clips, news clips that's taken place in the last day or two, and we'll keep you updated as these events transpire. This is an ongoing investigation. So with that being said, let's get on to the video clips and get right down to it. Now, to give you an idea before we get into the video clips of what we're dealing with here, this area, Bramer, Missouri, is the area that they're looking for these two brothers, around that area. Northeast of Kansas City, Missouri. Holt, Missouri is approximately where the suspect dropped off the car, the vehicle that the two brothers from Wisconsin had rented after they flew into Kansas City. They rented a car, went to the Bramer farm, or ranch, it's a ranch, to look at some cattle, and they disappeared, and their car was found over on I-35 and approximately PP Highway. That's Paw Paw Highway, with the engine running and the lights on. Keep that in mind, because I want to show you all something. Now, as you can see, that's quite a distance from Bramer, Missouri to Holt, Missouri. That's a good hour and a half drive, the way I got it figured from my experience running around in Kansas and Missouri. Now, let's get to the next map, and I want to show you all something. Now, this next map is where Bramer, Missouri is, north and east of Kansas City. You'll see the most direct route to acceleration ramp, approximately over where Holt is right there. That blue line. But there's a gray line you can follow too, takes you over towards Richmond and shoots you straight north into Bramer. One's about an hour and 14 minutes long, the other's just about 52 minutes long. Now, follow along with me, all you reporters out there and all you up there in Wisconsin and there in northern Missouri. If he drove the rental vehicle from Bramer, Missouri to Holt Highway with nobody in the passenger side of the vehicle, you with me so far? That's what's been reported. So now he's went from Bramer, Missouri to I-35 and PP Highway at a park and ride lot where you park your vehicle and share a ride. He left the vehicle's headlights on and the vehicle running. Now, how did he get back to his house in Bramer? He didn't walk. I guarantee you that damn much. Somebody, an accomplice, had to pick him up and bring him back to Bramer, or accomplices, more than one, I don't know. But there's definitely some accomplices involved in this besides just the suspect, because I guarantee you, he did not walk from that parking ride lot after parking the vehicle, leaving the engine running and the damn headlights on. He did not walk back to his house a good 45 miles. He called somebody to pick him up and take him back to his house. There's accomplices involved, and whether it's just giving him a ride or participated in the murder of those two young brothers from Wisconsin. I guarantee it. And if you picked him up at the parking ride and you knew he left the headlights on, you may not know that he left the engine running, but you knew the headlights was on, why didn't you say something? I'd be suspicious. In his story, it ain't his vehicle. So what was the story if it ain't his vehicle? This is what the reporters and the sheriff's department investigators need to ask and find out. If you picked him up and you knew it wasn't his vehicle, wouldn't you be asking whose vehicle it was and why'd you leave the headlights on? And if you didn't participate in the murder, then I'd still be suspicious. There's a reason to be suspicious. When you got somebody else's vehicle and you're getting out of it and you left the headlights on and you know it ain't their vehicle. I'd be suspicious if it was me. I'd be asking questions.
We did do our own detective work, and we discovered that this property was connected, at one point at least, with a man who served federal prison time for cattle fraud. We did comb through the court records from the 2014 cattle fraud investigation, which listed this place as a spot where the convicted man stored equipment, and the Demels were not among a list of victims in that case.
Garland Nelson shared his experiences as part of a documentary from the Iowa Public Broadcasting Company titled Life After Leavenworth. In 2015, a judge sentenced him to 24 months in prison for a cattle selling scheme that led to losses of nearly $300,000. He only served 13 months at the Leavenworth Penitentiary. Here's what he said about his time behind bars.
Just imagine being ripped out of everything you've known and thrown into a complete and total different place. You go from working 12 and 13-hour days to sitting around. Your world just comes to a stop. They let you out early if you got a drug case because you got a problem. And, well, I got an addiction too, I guess. Gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, you know, they didn't offer a treatment course for that.
Here's how federal investigators say that schemed work. They say that Nelson sold some of his own cattle without notifying the Department of Agriculture. As part of that scheme, Nelson deliberately hid the sales by having checks written out in different versions of his name other than what is on official government documents. We're also told that some of those checks were made out to his friends. The money was then transferred back into his account. We'll continue to follow the latest details of this story as more developments become available.
Now, you heard him say in the previous video that he sold some of his cows without notifying the Department of Agriculture. Well, there's a little more to it than just that. It wasn't that he just didn't notify the Department of Agriculture. It's because he borrowed a whole hell of a lot of money to buy those cows in the first place. Which is why there are stipulations and regulations that if you sell your cows, you have to notify the Department of Agriculture that you borrowed the grant from the loan. Now keep in mind, this kid, Joey Nelson, from Braymore, Missouri, this 19-year-old kid, started this when he was 19 years old. 19. He borrowed a significant amount of money to buy a herd of cattle that he thought it was just going to be a get rich quick. Going to raise them, sell them, butcher them, whatever. Now you tell me at 19 years old what business sense you got to be running a business when you borrowed over $100,000. So he was 19 years old. I'd like to know what he put up for collateral to get them cows. You telling me a 19-year-old owns a nice-ass house over $100,000? Don't look like he's worked a day in his life. He's barely out of high school. 19 years old, barely out of high school. Did his parents put up the money and use their home as collateral? He just went and got a grant for over $100,000 to buy them cattle. Then when it didn't work out like he thought it would, and he took care of other people's cattle, and he had to feed them too, plus his cattle, and the feed bills racked up, along with everything else, the money's gone. And when the money's gone, you ain't got nothing to work with. So what's the next thing you do? You lure somebody down there, like he did these two brothers, I'm assuming, my hunch, hoping they'd bring cash with him, and he knocked them off. Like the old saying goes with these liberals, these Democrats, I hate to get political, but you got to look at the situation here. He's 19 years old, barely out of high school, still dripping wet behind the ears at the time he did this. He's like 23 years old now. And he has no business sense at all because he went to one of them liberal schools where they teach you all kinds of dumb stuff, more about transsexuals and transgenders and all this other crap. That's what the liberal schools are teaching now. So he runs out of other people's money. That's the old saying. Socialism, liberalism is great until you run out of other people's money. So he runs out of money from the loan he got from the government to buy these cows. So he needs some more money. What do you think he does? Lure some unsuspecting, naive ranchers down there, hoping they're going to bring some cash, and he knocked them off. Now they can't find him. Like the old saying goes, socialism is great till you run out of other people's money. Then it ain't so great. Look at Venezuela. Prime example. Look at all them socialist Democrats up there on the in Minnesota. Bunch of skanks they call the Squad. Here we got this kid, 19 years old, at the time he did this. Took out this loan. He's 23 years old now. Done set himself up for possible life behind bars or the death penalty. All over a bunch of damn cows. But was it worth it? Was it really worth murdering two young men? One of them had a family with 4 kids and a wife. You murdered them to try to benefit yourself. That's pretty disgusting over a bunch of damned old cows. I'd rather you tried to build a casino all on your own. But you did it over a bunch of damned old cows. You got in over your head. You got no financial business sense. And now you're screwed. You're going to lose everything you got and possibly your parents' house too, because I got a feeling they're the ones that put up the damn mortgage. Collateral. Boy, you ain't too smart. You just ain't smart enough. There's other accomplices involved in this. Because you ain't smart enough to get rid of two individuals on your own where they can't be found. They'll be found. I guarantee you they're going to be found. But you ain't smart enough to act on your own. You had help. And I can tell by the way you talk and the way you act, just hearing this video, that you ain't smart enough, intelligent enough, and got enough smarts to get rid of 2 people on your own. We're going to find them if we have to spend a month of Sundays looking for them. You can bet your sweet ass on that. We're going to nail your ass and your accomplice's ass to the wall. You can bet on that. Take that to the bank, Pilgrim. Now, I'd like you to watch this next clip, because this is where it gets good. I found this today that was reported on an internet blog or somewhere. Somebody wrote it and got some information and posted it into a story. So I want you to watch this next clip kind of close, because this is going to get into what I just got through saying about him being 19 years old and getting that grant for those cows. And as Steve McGarrett would say, we're going to find them. We're going to find them 2 missing brothers. When we do, it's going to be book 'em, Dano.
Titled Life After Leavenworth. In 2015, a judge sentenced him to 24 months in prison for a cattle selling scheme that led to losses of nearly $300,000. He only served 13 months at the Leavenworth Penitentiary. Here's what he said about his time behind bars.
Just imagine being ripped out of everything you've known and thrown into a complete and total different place. You go from working 12 and 13-hour days to sitting around. Your world just comes to a stop. They let you out early if you got a drug case because you got a problem. And, well, I got an addiction too, I guess. gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, they didn't offer a treatment course for that.
Here's how federal investigators say that schemed work. They say that Nelson sold some of his own cattle without notifying the Department of Agriculture. As part of that scheme, Nelson deliberately hid the sales by having checks written out in different versions of his name other than what is on official government documents. We're also told that some of those checks were made out to his friends. The money was then transferred back into his account. We'll continue to follow the latest details of this story as more developments become available.
And, I got an addiction too, I guess. Gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, they didn't offer a treatment course for that. And, I got an addiction too, I guess. Gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, they didn't offer a treatment course for that.
And, I got an addiction too, I guess. Gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, they didn't offer a treatment course for that. And, I got an addiction too, I guess. Gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, they didn't offer a treatment course for that.
Oh, seriously. You expect them to offer you a treatment course because you like to, as you call it, play farming. What do you think this is, a video game? Is that what you're into before you got into? You was into playing farming simulator? You think it's a game, playing farming simulator? Oh, and you like to play farming. This is a game, like a simulator. Because there's farming simulator out there that you can pretend you're farming and plowing fields, and I got a feeling this dipshit thinks it's all a game. Borrowing money from other people, whether it's the government or other people, and then you run out of it, and so you just go murder people to get more money. You're a fucking idiot and an asshole. Jesus. This is the young millennial generation we got nowadays. Completely clueless, naive, ignorant, and stupid. No common sense at all. And I blame the liberal public schools for this, as well as his parents. They obviously didn't raise him very good, or he wouldn't have done this. And his friends are just as bad. That whole school district up there needs to be investigated. You just murdered 2 people. One of them's got 4 kids and a wife, you dipshit bastard. You're going to have to live with that the rest of your life. Right now you're young and you think you're pretty cocky. You get older and get some age on you, you'll regret it. But I have a feeling, with any luck at all, you won't make it to be too old, because you're going to get hanged or electrocuted, as well as you should. And any judge out there and prosecuting attorney who doesn't go for the death penalty, well, you ought to have your asses removed from the judicial system. I'm going to say it again. You ought to have your asses removed from the judicial system. Because now, those 2 didn't get any jury trial. They didn't get any leniency before they were murdered. And now, his 4 kids are going to have to grow up without their father, and his wife is going to have to endure some hardships over this dipshit bastard that you're looking at right here, this Joey Nelson, wanting to play farming. Well, I'd like to pin the tail on the donkey. Yeah, I'd like to play that game with you, Joey Nelson. That's where you take off running across the field, and I get to shoot my .44 Magnum and my .357 at your ass. See how you like that? It's a fun game. We should try it. Yeah. I shoot and you run. And I don't miss. Haven't yet. I was in Iraq in 2003, 2004. Member of Operation OIF. Operation Iraqi Freedom. Something you probably should have done with your life instead of playing farming. Should have enlisted in the Marines. Made a man out of you instead of a dipshit. Something you'll never know about because you ain't going to make it very far in life. You and your friends, your accomplices. Well, I hope your mother and father are really proud of you. What a dipshit. You'd have been a lot better off enlisting in the Marines or the Army than playing farming, as you call it. Jesus. It's just amazing. I can't believe he even said that. That just proves what we all been saying for years, since the 1990s, that these video games and these computer games are warping these kids' minds. All these violent video games and all these fantasy video games. They warned us about this in the 90s. Nobody listened. There were talk shows on it. It was on all the news shows. People come on there trying to say that once these kids get into this, they're not going to be able to adjust to the real world. And, well, we're seeing it. We are seeing it. Jesus. Grand Theft Auto's bad enough, but you want to play farming? You think this is how you play farming? When you run out of money, you just lure people to your farm and kill them for cash? Well, you're a sick bastard. Man, you're just callous. No remorse. You took a father away from his 4 kids and his wife, and another man from his girlfriend? That makes you a no-good, callous son of a bitch in my book. A worthless bastard. A piece of shit. Be glad I'm not your judge. If you're found guilty and you actually murdered those 2 young brothers from Wisconsin, because I'd have you swinging from a steel cable around your neck from a freeway overpass where the public can watch it. Because I don't give a shit about scumbags like you. Degenerate pieces of shit. As far as I'm concerned, we'll put razor wire around that steel cable, wrap it around your neck, and throw you off a freeway overpass. That's how I do things. I don't like to fuck around. You're a real degenerate asshole, Joey Nelson, and so are your accomplice friends. Every damn one of you. As far as I'm concerned, you can go straight to hell. That's all I have to say on this. I'll keep you all updated as more info comes in. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Garland Nelson. 5 fast facts you need to know. Let's get into this article. Pretty interesting article, so stay tuned. Pay attention. Very informative about what's going on. It says here, Garland Nelson is a Bramer, Missouri farmer, I call him a rancher, who is accused in connection with the investigation into two missing Wisconsin brothers, Nicholas and Justin Diemel. Specifically, Nelson is accused of admitting to drive the brothers' vehicle and abandoning it in a commuter lot off I-35 and PP Highway. News of the arrest comes as the search for the brothers continues, but authorities are now labeling it a death investigation. Nelson's full name is Garland Joseph Joey Nelson. Nicholas and Justin Diemel disappeared without a trace while on a business trip to look at livestock in Missouri. Loved ones have started a Facebook page called Please Help Bring Nick and Justin Diemel Home. You can read updates on that page here. Nick Diemel is 35 years old, and Justin Diemel, his brother, is 24 years old. They own Diemel's Livestock together near Seymour in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area. Now this is where it gets good and you all need to pay attention. Here's what you need to know. Number 1, Garland Nelson is accused of tampering with a motor vehicle, the missing brother's rental vehicle. And there's a picture of the suspect right there. He don't look smart or intelligent enough to me to be able to do this on his own. He had accomplices. Would have had to. And if you're an accomplice, I highly suggest you turn yourself into the law. On July 26, 2019, Garland Nelson was charged in connection with the case. However, he's only been accused of a vehicle charge, not directly in relation to the brother's disappearance, at least not yet. Nelson was arrested on Friday, 7/26/2019, on Friday afternoon, and is being held without bond. KMBC further reported that documents allege that the brothers' truck, those from Wisconsin, the cattle ranchers, truck's GPS showed them arriving at Nelson's farm at 9:30 a.m., I believe on Saturday. And the truck left just over 2 hours later.
Ever hear about the time Big Jim?
10:30, 11:30. The brothers spoke to an employee around 11 a.m. Saturday, about 44 minutes before the truck left the farm, and they seemed fine in that phone call. The television station reported the truck was seen in Polo, Missouri, with no one in the passenger seat, and then was at the commuter lot. I call it a park and ride lot, where people park their vehicles and then they carpool. I call it a carpool lot, whatever, at 12:45 p.m. So from 9:30, when they arrived at Nelson's farm, figured 10:30, 11:30, they made a phone call around 11, and now it's at the commuter lot at 12:45 p.m. That ain't very much time, so they ain't too far away. Them two brothers. It ain't like he had time to drive to Utah or Nevada or down into Texas or Arkansas and then turn around and come back. So these two brothers ain't too far from where they were murdered at. Think about that now. Draw you a radius. Get you a map out. Get off your damn cell phones. Put them sumbitches away and get you out a map. A paper map. Fuck the cell phones. And draw you a radius of an hour and a half, 2 hours away, keeping in mind he had to drive to the commuter lot and get back to his house. So you're looking at about an hour and a half, 2 hour time frame. In that radius from where that farm is where you need to be looking, whether it's a stream, a river, a well, a septic tank, a silo, corn silo, wheat silo, or an old cistern. If you don't know what a cistern is, it's kind of like a well. They're either in a well, a silo, a sewage septic tank type system, or they're in a river or creek. That'd be my hunch. Something for y'all to look at. Get to looking. Get on your four-wheelers, get on your horses, start looking. A post on the Facebook page devoted to the search says that the missing Wisconsin brothers were last contacted on July 21st, 2019. No one has heard from them since. On July 22nd, 2019, the Clinton County Sheriff's Office was contacted by the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office regarding an abandoned vehicle located at a commuter lot in Holt, Missouri. That's right off I-35, north of Kansas City, about 60, 80 miles, something like that. So look on your map, find Holt, Missouri. It's right off I-35 north of Kansas City, north and east of Kansas City. This vehicle was determined to be the one driven by two missing brothers from Wisconsin, Nicholas Diemel and Justin Diemel, who traveled to Missouri for business in Caldwell and Clinton counties. Please call Clinton County Sheriff at 816-632-8477 or the Missouri State Police at 573-526-6178 with any information. Again, if you're an accomplice, you best turn your ass in. Number 2, Nelson has a conviction for cattle fraud that was labeled as a danger to the community. Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office, Western District of Missouri. Right there's right below it. You see it right there, Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office. Let me resize my page here. Now, one news reporter, I think, misquoted it as 2014. U.S. Attorney's Office, Western District of Missouri, for immediate release, Monday, October 3rd, 2016. Bramer man sentenced for $262,000 cattle fraud. $262,000 cattle fraud. This was released on Monday, October 3rd, 2016. So get it straight, reporters. Kansas City, Missouri. Tammy Dickerson, United States Attorney for the Western District of Missouri, announced that a Bramer, Missouri man was sentenced in federal court today for a cattle fraud scheme that resulted in losses of more than $262,000 to his victims. Garland Joseph Joey Nelson, 22 years old, of Bramer, Missouri, was sentenced by U.S. District Judge Howard F. Sachs to 2 years in federal prison without parole. The court also ordered Nelson to pay $262,450 in restitution to his victims, including the USDA, that's U.S. Department of Agriculture, Farm Service Agency, Cyclone Cattle Company, and individual victims. The government may enforce restitution and the recovery of government property under lien at any time. Nelson must report to the Bureau of Prisons on November 21st, 2016, to begin serving his sentence. Nelson has a conviction for cattle fraud charges. What happened? Nelson has a conviction for cattle fraud charges, according to KCTV 5 News. Fox 4 KC reported that Nelson has a conviction for selling cattle that didn't belong to him. On LinkedIn, where Nelson went by Joey, he identified himself as a farmer, not a rancher. So he's claiming to be a farmer when he's really a rancher. But the key deal here is a conviction for selling cattle that didn't belong to him. Now, whether he was keeping somebody else's cattle and feeding them and then sold them, or whether he went out and stole the cattle, I don't know. Didn't get into specifics. But as you can see, he has a conviction for selling cattle that did not belong to him. Sounds like a cattle rustler to me under false disguise as a farmer. According to the Department of Justice news release in 2016, Tammy Dickerson, United States Attorney for the Western District of Missouri, announced that Nelson was sentenced in federal court today for cattle fraud scheme that resulted in losses of more than $262,000 to his victims. Garland Joseph Joey Nelson, then 22 years old of Braemar, was sentenced by U.S. District Judge Howard Sachs to 2 years in prison without parole, the release says. The court also ordered Nelson to pay $200 to his victims, including the USDA, Cyclone Cattle Company, and individual victims. The government may enforce restitution. On November 30th, 2015, Nelson pled guilty to fraud scheme using property mortgaged or pledged to farm credit agencies. This is the important part. Nelson pleaded guilty to fraud scheme using property mortgaged or pledged to farm credit agencies. In other words, I guess you could call it well, anyway. Nelson engaged in a 3-part fraud scheme that caused a combined loss of $262,450. I guess the word I was looking for and couldn't come up with real quick was collateral. What did he put up for collateral? Evidently, because it says here, a fraud scheme using property mortgaged. Well, then he had to put something up for collateral. I just can't imagine a 19-year-old, 22-year-old having something that's worth $200,000 or $300,000, unless he used his parents' home to put up the money. Maybe they didn't know about it. Maybe they did. Maybe they were part of it. Who knows? It doesn't get into detail, and I don't know. All I can do is assume and have hunches and wild guesses till more comes out about this. The release list, loan fraud. Here it is right here. The release list loan fraud of $138,452, and says that Nelson admitted that he engaged in a scheme to sell at least 114 mortgaged head of cattle that were pledged to the Farm Service Agency, FSA, without notifying FSA of the sales from April 1st, 2013 through June 2014. He did not instruct purchasers to address proceeds checks to the FSA as well as to him, and he did not remit the bulk of the sale proceeds to FSA to pay back the loan as was required by the terms of his loans. Instead, Nelson admitted that he kept the funds for his personal use. Right there. Pretty much sums it up. Going to borrow money from the government, meaning the taxpayers who funds all this. Going to sell them cattle and use the money so he can live high on the hog. Fancy pickup trucks, whatever else he needs. Going to keep the funds for his personal use. Huh. Okay. Liberalism 101. Socialism 101. Nelson, the release continued, received 2 livestock operating loans in April 2013 totaling $158,000 for the limited purpose of buying and raising cattle. In violation of the express terms of his loans and with fraudulent intent, this is where I'm at, fraudulent intent, Nelson conducted livestock sales from April 2013 to July 2014 under the name Joey Nelson to avoid detection. He conducted other sales in the name of a friend to further conceal his involvement. His friend then transferred the proceeds to Nelson. Now, you remember what I said earlier in the video, in my other previous video, that he had to have an accomplice? Well, there it is. There it is. He conducted other sales in the name of a friend to further conceal his involvement. His friend then transferred the money, the proceeds, to Nelson. You can bet his friend is in on it. Betcha. That's who probably picked him up at the park and ride, took him back to his house. This supposed friend. I'll bet you. The release continued. Nelson had ceased making payments on his FSA loans as of January 12th, 2015. His outstanding principal balance is $138,452 plus applicable interest and penalties. Nelson filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy on June 25th, 2015. It also lists livestock sales, $124,000, and says Nelson also schemed to remove identification from cattle that was owned by others but placed in his care to graze. That's interesting. Nelson removed identification tags from 646 head of cattle that belonged to others and commingled these cattle with his own cattle and with those owned by his neighbor and landlord in order to sell livestock undetected. He sold those cattle for his own benefit, for his own personal benefit, for a total loss to 3 victims of $124,000. In a recent case, according to KSHB, the missing Wisconsin brothers' budget rent-a-car contract, which is really a pickup truck, specified that only Nicholas Demo could drive the vehicle, making Nelson's alleged actions a crime. He's accused of leaving the vehicle in the commuter lot with its lights on and engine running. Court documents labeled him as an alleged danger to the community, the television station reported. Right there. Danger to the community. We're going to skip ahead here a little bit because it's stuff we've already talked about. Number 4, Nelson had a previous bankruptcy filing. There's the case number, the docket number, filed June 25th, 2015. If the page ever quits jumping around. In the United States Bankruptcy Court, Western District of Missouri. Name of debtor, Garland Joseph Nelson. Other names used by the debtor in the last 8 years include DBA Nelson Farms. Street address, 3321 Southeast Catawba Road, Bramer, Missouri. Caldwell County. In 2015, the news press reported on a bankruptcy involving Garland Nelson, Chapter 7. Financial assets, $179,243. Liabilities of $192,503. Garland Joseph Nelson, DBA Nelson Farms, Bramer, Missouri, the report says. You can read the bankruptcy filing here. Creditors listed in the documents include Farm Credit Services agencies, veterinary services, other farms, and a tractor company. His personal property included clothes and a checking account with $686 in it. He also owned a vehicle and some farm equipment. Under cash on hand, he listed $10. The documents listed bad checks to a sandwich shop and veterinary business. He also owed money to the University of Missouri Office of Financial Aid. He described himself as self-employed. He indicated that he made $2,650 a month doing odd jobs, working for a genetics company and feeding cattle. Nick Diemel is married with 4 children, and support for the families has flowed in. We are also thankful for the outpouring of love and support that has been shown to our family at this difficult time, his wife Lisa Diemel wrote. There have been many requests for what can we do to help, people wanting to make donations, etc. To those wanting to help, please keep in mind the individuals that are working to bring Nick and Justin home. They need water, individually wrapped snacks that can hold up to the weather, meaning the hot heat and humidity. She added, also law enforcement agencies have budgets that they have to work with so any donation we would direct to contact Clinton County, Missouri Sheriff's Office. And here you can kind of read through this a little bit. But as you can see, there's the 2 brothers right there. Look like pretty good-sized boys to me. So, I'll go ahead and leave this up for you to read it. I'm not going to read it word for word. Give you some idea what this suspect cattle rustler sounds like. Sounds like he was trying to remain incognito. Instead of just going out and stealing people's cattle, he agreed to let them graze on his land and then would debadge them, what I call debadging it, take the tags off their ears, try to cover up any branding marks, and then would take and sell the cattle to unsuspecting customers, probably either at a sale barn or online or wherever he could. That's what it sounds to me like. This way he didn't have to go out and steal the actual cattle and get caught by that special agent down here in Oklahoma. And if you tune into my previous videos, you'll see about that special agent down here in Oklahoma. Kind of looks like Robert Duvall, but there's a tip line if you know anything. 816-632-8477. These are the 2 brothers that are missing. I find it pretty hard to believe that this suspect that they've got did it on his own. He had to have an accomplice. There's no doubt about it. And I think that accomplice is what I talked about earlier in this video. That he was having checks made out to in his name. Right here, his friend transferred the proceeds to Nelson. My hunch is that this supposed friend is in on this. I'd be willing to bet you. I'd be looking at another arrest. They need to arrest his friend, and they both need to stand trial. His friend. He conducted other sales in the name of a friend to further conceal his involvement in the fraud. Well, frankly, I don't care what his friend does. This is to the district attorney, prosecuting attorney, and to the judge. They both are guilty, and they should be given no leniency whatsoever. No leniency whatsoever. his friend's going to turn on him and spill the beans. They both should still get life in prison or the death penalty. And frankly, I prefer the death penalty. And I don't mean 30 years from now either. Within 12 months of being convicted, they should be put to death. Either hanged or fried and electrocuted in the electric chair. It's time to bring it back and get rid of all these low-life scumbags. Of course, the Democratic, Liberal, Communist squad are against the death penalty. We all know who the AOC and her squad is. Bunch of degenerate, scumbag, communist, socialist liberals. But need to bring back this death penalty and start cleaning up this world and get rid of these pieces of shit out here that are preying on everybody else and murdering, raping, and killing them. Pretty bad, pretty bad. I just don't think this degenerate piece of shit right here, which is what he is intelligent or smart enough to do this on his own. Let's listen to the video that he said earlier where he tries to blame his problems on everybody else. And what does that sound like? Typical degenerate liberal for you. Let's listen to the video.
And, well, I got an addiction too, I guess. Gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, you know, they didn't offer a treatment course for that. And, well, I got an addiction too, I guess. Gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, you know, they didn't offer a treatment course for that.
And, well, I got an addiction too, I guess. Gambling. It's a gambling addiction to playing farming. And, you know, they didn't offer a treatment course for that.
Press conference this coming Monday at the Bramer High School at 4:30 with more detailed information to release to you guys at that time. We won't be releasing anything on Sunday unless anything pertinent pops up. We'll make notification to you guys. Everybody's been working at this since Monday, and we've been constantly burning the midnight oil. These guys are wearing down, and we're trying to get some people a little bit of a rest here, and we're all needing a little sleep, but they're still staying at it, and they're actively working and actively investigating. What I would say is that the heat is kind of playing a toll on some of our searchers. We have a lot of people out here searching right now, and that heat has actually put a little bit of a toll on some of these people, and that's my main focus right now. Is I got a couple of people who are getting kind of heat exhaustion and other things like that, so I got to get back up there and get them refreshed and get them going. But I appreciate you guys very much. If there's anything else that pops up, I'll be sure to make sure to get it out to you guys as quick as I possibly can. Okay.
Sheriff, you guys have been there a long time. Obviously, this is now a death investigation. Are you basing that off of what you have uncovered so far, or just the fact that you have been able to find these two brothers?
Based off of the fact that we haven't been able to find them, and through the process of the investigation, which on Monday I'll be able to reveal some more of that stuff to you guys.
Sheriff, you said you had searchers. Are those volunteer searchers?
Correct.
Where are they coming from around the county?
Local fire departments.
How many searchers do you have approximately?
We have a limited of 16.
So these are trained people that know what to look for when they're out searching?
They're volunteers that know if something's not out of place. If something doesn't look right, they'll notify.
You've been in constant contact with the family, Sheriff. Just how are they holding up? How are they doing right now with everything that's happening?
As with any family, any kind of event like this, if your loved one goes missing, I mean, you put yourself in their shoes. You can't really explain how they're feeling. You can only guess or kind of feel it from your end of it. But they're trying to hold up as much as they can, and hope for the best, and do what they can to try to move on for now. But they want closure. as any family would want closure. And our job is to help them get that closure.
How are you doing?
How am I doing? We're all tired. We're all exhausted. We're all drained mentally, physically. We need rest. But we'll get it. We'll get through it. And we're in here for the long haul. Like I said at the beginning, we're not going to rest until we get to the end of it. And once we finally get to the end of it, then we'll kind of take a breather for a moment.
Sheriff, without going into too much detail, can you describe in just one or two words what you guys have just to describe what you've learned just so far about this investigation?
I guess I can't do it in 2 words, but I would say it's going to be long term. It's not something that's going to be cut and dry and quick. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of resources, and it's going to take a lot of manpower.
Was that something you all expected from the beginning?
You never know what to expect in the beginning. No crime is ever the same. No missing persons case is ever the same. Everything's always different. You can't ever. There's no textbook for anything like that. So you don't know. You just go in, hoping for the best, but you always expect the worst for anything you do. And I think all the deputies, investigators, everybody around has the same mentality. We go in there hoping for the best, but we always expect the worst because, unfortunately, that in our job, we end up sometimes dealing with the worst of the worst.
Would you consider the preliminary part of this investigation coming to an end?
I wouldn't say so right now because we're still actively investigating with our major case squad.
How crucial has the Buchanan County Sheriff's Department been in this entire
as crucial as the deputy sitting on the road.
Are you guys willing to say that Garland Nelson is the suspect that you guys had been looking for at this point?
I believe if you read on the probable cause affidavits that were released about him, which I'll go in more on Monday, I'll explain that to you.